Hello guys, welcome to Movie School. Today, I'm going to explain Kill Command is a 2016 science fiction action horror film. In the advanced near future, we meet Katherine Mills, a cyborg working for the Harbinger Corporation. She's working at the plant when she receives an unexpected message sent straight to her mind. It's a film of the robot known as S.A.R. or Study Analyze Reprogram, experiencing an abnormality at the Harbinger I training facility. She relays this to her boss, noting that there's been a reprogram count, 1.5 million just under one day, utterly unprecedented. Her boss congratulates her on it. We then switch to a military facility where Captain Damien Bukes is asking one of his soldiers, Thure, for a report. He tells him they've been instructed to participate in a training exercise and that it's rather terrible out there. Bukes isn't happy with this news, so, after noticing Mills sitting nearby, he approaches the soldier in charge of sending them off to ask what's going on since his team has already been on training the last 4 times out. He's told is only 2 days, and they're looking for Marines with combat time. Not many left of those. Bukes has no other option than to comply, but before he goes, he's told he's been given Mills as a tech. She follows Bukes outside to introduce herself and explain, there's the hardware on the field they'll be training at. She'll be inspecting it as she is from Harbinger. Bukes asks her to keep an eye on them. She responds she must keep an eye on both them and the hardware, which makes Bukes feel she's trying to find out what she can save on. She clarifies that's not what her firm does. They're suppliers for the military, not the military itself. Bukes cuts her off and tells her to keep up or she'll be left behind. He also begs her to put her eyes scanner off since he doesn't want to be scanned. But Mills tells him it doesn't go off. Once they board the jet, Mills meets Bukes' complete unit, which consists of Drifter, Sergeant Rory Robinson, Corporal Robert Cutbill, Lance Corporal Martin Goodwin, Corporal Daniella Hackett, and Corporal Sam Loftus. The plane gets off, and the team keeps themselves occupied on the trip. Some of them sleep or do a crossword. Mills learns about them by scanning them, but also by hearing their banter. They're very clearly extremely close friends. She also discovers that Bukes has murdered 18, and that Robinson has tech implants in his eyes. Robinson raises his gun at her and tells her he sees her. Mills simply leans in a little and disarms the weapon by just looking at it, as that's all she needs to do to access any machine. She notes that she can even shoot it from a distance while he's examining the chamber. As they approach closer to the area, Bukes gives the unit the basic instructions and reminds them the munitions are live and that they'll be observed. Mills learns she cannot access the global network anymore, and she's required to convert to the local one. Robinson tells Bukes that what she's got are tools, like the ones on his own eyes, but Bukes tells him they don't get to his brain. The jet lands in front of an ancient facility. The door unlocks when the lock's computer identifies Bukes. The computer also switches on the lights and replays a welcome message, but when Bukes makes his way inside, he sees there's nobody around. This is also observed outside by the troops, who wonder who will be watching them. When Bukes returns, he tells them they'll be moving, and Mills uses the opportunity to ask him if he has any ground support or recon. He doesn't. Mills feels they started off on the wrong foot, but he doesn't agree. The jet departs and the squad makes their way through the facility while taunting each other. Ultimately, they make it out and into a wilderness. Bukes instructs Cutbill to send up a drone and then reminds everyone they shouldn't let their guards down simply because it's training. Once the drone is put up, they begin walking, dispersing out with Mills trailing behind when she sees an unidentifiable drone amid the woods. It doesn't take them long to identify the spot, so they proceed to get into their positions, with Drifter following Mills and begging her to help him out with his boss. Their chat is interrupted when 3 odd surveillance drones approach and look at them. Drifter is ready to shoot at them, but Mills stops him. It appears she's attempting to acquire access to them. Drifter notifies his comrades of this encounter, and Hackett replies she's spotted them too. Mills tells Drifter Harbinger produced what he terms these new toys, but these ones have been quantum modified. They don't have operators. After Drifter remarks on the fact they at least know they're here, we discover Bukes has also found these drones, but asks everyone to move on. Moments later, their practice targets finally make an appearance. They're pretty primitive robots. Bukes creates a plan of attack and everyone proceeds to their designated spots. Mills once again getting to follow Drifter after one last peek at the unique drone. After a countdown, they attack using bullets, rockets, and explosives, a piece of cake for seasoned warriors like them. The bizarre drones watch and record their actions, and Mills chooses to pursue one further in the forest where she finds a more sophisticated unit, an S.A.R. She isn't startled to see it, but she does feel horrified when it turns around and there's blood on its head. The fact she can't access it really saddens her. She does get to observe and download some film from the robot, which involves photos of it shooting individuals face to face. She shuts her eyes, trying to digest all this, and when she opens them, the S.A.R. is nowhere to be found. At that moment, a word comes from their captain. The day is finished, they've done well, time to set up camp. Later at night, the team has set up camp and is exchanging some battle memories, while Mills sits on her own. Drifter can't resist observing her, and the others ridicule him for it, telling him she isn't even human. They also emphasize the fact that targets were simple to procure and very basic technology. Meanwhile, Mills is reading over the video she's obtained when Drifter arrives to check on her. He sits by her side and asks her where she had gone earlier. She merely claims she had to look around. He also asks about communications, but just like them, she can't still reach out either. She asks why Bukes isn't talking to him personally. Drifter points out maybe Bukes just chooses not to like her, which Mills believes it's sad for her given Bukes' killing record, but Drifter argues they are contextless stats, and that's why Bukes doesn't want to like her. Drifter takes the occasion to inquire Mills about the tale behind her becoming chipped. It occurred when she was 11, and without it she had paralysis. Harbinger financed it all and healed her. Drifter chooses to return to camp a moment later, when he finds Bukes looking at Mills. He asks Drifter if she's told him anything. He says she's stated she's been shut off and doesn't know why. Drifter believes her, but Bukes doesn't. He feels something's up with both the training and Mills. While everyone gets ready for the night, Mills notices a bunch of drones in the forest, and when she goes to sleep, the bizarre film from the S.A.R. comes in her eyes again. Meanwhile, Loftus, who is staying up to maintain watch, is contacted by one of the drones. He tells it to get out of there, and it complies, but then he hears a noise. As he looks up with this pistol light, he finds the S.A.R. rushing after him. Loftus begins firing at it, but we abruptly go back to camp, where Mills wakes up to hear everyone wondering about the unexpected shot sounds. Goodwin tells Bukes he spotted Loftus up there, but a second later he was gone, so the team begins exploring the forest to find him. It's early the dawn of the second day when they find their first clue, some blood on the grass. It just takes them a few feet farther from there to find Loftus' corpse, tossed against a tree. Cutbill freaked out at the sight of his pal like this, and wants to get out of there. His superiors order him to quiet up as they all gather in a defensive stance for a potential attack. Mills tells them they're standing on their target's location from yesterday when a drone swings by to watch them. The thing barely remains there a second before departing shortly before Hackett was shot and murdered. Bukes tells them to move, and they do so, hiding behind trees when a bunch of robots comes up where the unit took positions the day before, which Bukes sees. He and Drifter pull out several smoke grenades and toss them to blanket the area in fog. Robots and troops start firing at each other while the unit continues moving forward. Bukes ultimately gets to get closer to the robots, but they curiously back off and vanish when they spot him. In the meanwhile, Cutbill, who got separated from his team on the run, is attempting to contact them to no avail. A few drones approach closer to watch him before flying away, only for an S.A.R. to come out a moment later and murder Cutbill. Back to the team, Drifter asks Bukes what he's witnessed. He reveals the robots he's seen are more sophisticated than those from yesterday. Their armor is exceptionally excellent, as they were able to take a shot from him without any harm. Getting upset at losing his soldiers, he wants Mills to tell him what she knows and to turn those robots off. Mills claims that although she's able to see them, she isn't capable of turning them off. There's a programming issue and she's running the possibilities. This makes Bukes further upset, but Drifter leaps in to defend her, stating she doesn't know, and this is a programmer's error. Bukes doesn't agree. Errors aren't efficient. Robinson returns. Then he had been hunting for Cutbill, but only found his helmet. So the team begins moving again to find him. On their walk through the forest, Drifter reminds Bukes Mills is helpful since she can see things they can't. Bukes points out that if she sees them, it means they get to see her in return, and consequently they see the team as well. But Drifter argues it doesn't matter since they need all the aid they can take right now. Bukes can't stop thinking about the attack and wondering why the robots have let them walk. He believes it may be because Mills was there with them. She stops them to show them something in the forest, a great lot of dead animals. It appears the robots have been using them as target practice, like Loftus. Suddenly, Mills reports they're being followed from the ridge, just in time to see additional robots arrive. They spare no time in starting the fire, so the team begins sprinting away as quickly as they can. When a specific shot is about to strike Mills, Bukes pulls her out of the path and takes her down with him, which causes them to roll away and become separated from the others. Mills strikes a tree and goes out. Drifter attempts to contact them to no avail, so he tells Goodwin and Robinson to start moving. Night descends. Bukes manages to transport Mills back to the facility door and make contact with Drifter. They inform one another of their condition, and when Drifter says they'll go to him, Bukes orders them to stay where they are. It's too dark, and the robots may find them quickly. Best regroup in the morning. Some hours later, a drone arrives in front of Bukes. It departs fast, but the captain is already grabbing Mills and hiding behind the wall as an S.A.R. approaches them. The robot leans in and makes Mills open her eyes to connect with her before departing. It's morning when she finally wakes up. Bukes tells her she's been unconscious for 9 hours. She asks him why he didn't leave her. Bukes says he doesn't know before informing her about what occurred last night. Mills responds they need to find that robot. When Bukes asks why, she says she can't explain it. Bukes orders her to find a means before saying they're going. They regroup with the 3 remaining soldiers. Drifter says they weren't monitored even if they could have done so simply, since they were everywhere yesterday night. Mills verifies everything appears clear ahead, and all the signals are behind them. They decide to go back to the drop point and wait for transport to pick them up. Bukes will take Mills to the door, as she's the only one who can open it, while the others protect their backs. The road is clear, so they make it to the door with no hassles. Bukes attempts to sneak in, but the lock's computer doesn't identify him, and surveillance drones make their presence then. Mills takes over the door, working on hacking it open, when suddenly several smoke grenades are shot in the area. The robots are imitating them, and Bukes can't see a thing. There's no time to strategize. The robots come and start firing them, so the soldiers begin moving. Drifter gets shot in the leg just before Mills attempts to open the door. The soldiers need to stop and hide to shield themselves from the intense fire, so Bukes decides to go aid them. They all grip onto each other as they begin moving again, but Drifter says back, firing to give them a chance to escape. He is shot again, so the S.A.R. finds him and pins him down. Bukes observes this and goes back to help him. Mills also notices, so she runs and joins them. The robots stop shooting when they see her. She tries to deactivate them, but she can't, so the S.A.R. gets in position to cut Drifter open. Mills is still trying to deactivate the units, so she tells the soldiers not to shoot, but since she isn't getting anywhere, Bukes shoots Drifter before the S.A.R. or can kill him itself to save him from the torture. Mills cries out at the loss of her friend. Bukes grabs her and drags her with him as they finally enter the facility again. Inside the building, Mills rants at Bukes for what he has done. She's sure she could have saved Drifter because she was the one that made these robots. This makes no sense, so the soldiers point their rifles at her and demand explanations. Mills says she doesn't know why they are here. Marines come here to train, but she just knows they were asked. She's the one who created the program and designed the prototypes, but the codes have evolved further than they could foresee. She thinks that if she can comprehend it, she could control it, but Bukes says it's too late for that. When questioned precisely what they are, Mills tells them they're the replacements, computers taking over human soldiers so no more lives are wasted. They learn and develop themselves, like humans. None of the soldiers like this, and Bukes points out his men are dead because of her. Mills is observed to be sobbing as he exits the room. The main door is slowly being cut open by the robots, so they need to find a stronger defensive position. Mills pulls the door to the staff area open and puts on the lights. What they find inside is worrying. A full unit of S.A.R. models. Bukes tells Mills not to turn them on, then asks her to open a second door. Here they find the bodies of all the facility personnel. Mills utilizes a screen to connect to the local system, but she still can't manage to speak with the outside world. Bukes points out they're at a bottleneck and they could slow down the robots from here. As the soldiers start setting up charges, Mills exits the room, shutting the door behind her so they can't follow her. Since the S.A.R. units have power, she activates one. They are all linked to one another, so when one wakes up, it will know what they all know. She thinks she can get to them via this one. The robot wakes up and, once Mills switches on its voice program, it begins answering her inquiries. Its orders are to run the human combat program, which Mills wants to halt, but she can't. It tells her it can't comply because of a human error. The training subjects aren't performing as planned, thus they need fresh, motivated targets. As the robot detects who she is and the fact she doesn't have clearance, Mills gets a realization. It was the Guardian S.A.R. that sent the Marines here. When she asks when training will be complete, the robot says it's undefined. The soldiers instruct Mills to open the door, but she doesn't listen. She wants to attempt to access the units again. She isn't successful, and the Guardian S.A.R. begins activating the rest of the robots at the same time. The ones from the outside eventually break in. Mills is being approached from all sides, but Robinson manages to push the door open and drags her inside before sealing it again. The robots instantly go on working to cut this one open too. The team returns to the bottleneck room, where Bukes is completing putting up the charges. The robots burst in then, so they barely have time to escape before the bomb goes off, hitting them as well. When they are down, Mills is hit again by an electromagnetic disturbance, making her discover the robots carry EMP weapons with them. They all make it outdoors, where they find several abandoned buildings and training equipment, and more bodies. While the soldiers stare at the debris, Mills enters a tunnel and retrieves an EMP grenade from one of the dead robots. Afterward, when the guys split the ammo and establish a position for a siege, she watches over the film of the death of her friends, which makes her weep, but also more determined to deploy the grenade. While everyone waits for the robots, Bukes checks on Mills and finds the grenade. Mills tells him it should be able to deactivate the S.A.R., but its range is short. They'll need a detonator. Hitting the S.A.R. leader should stop all the rest of the units as well. She also reveals that the reason why they haven't been murdered yet is that the robots have pushed them there on purpose for more practice. Only the EMP can stop them. Bukes points out the explosion may kill her too, or at least wipe her clean, but Mills thinks it's their only option. They spend the entire night waiting, and it isn't until morning that the robots finally come. Robinson is in charge of drawing them in from this spot as a sharpshooter, Goodwin must stay out of sight because he has the detonators. When the units approach the city, Robinson and Burke start a shootout with them, while Mills analyzes the area to inform Goodwin when to trigger the explosives they buried, which manage to make them lose quite a few robots. Mills continues to escort Robinson and Burke safely through the city, alerting them of imminent assaults, but when Goodwin ignites another bomb, the drones find him, so he must leave his allotted place. Robinson covers Burks as he runs to rescue Goodwin, who is being followed by an S.A.R. He manages to grab him and take him. Robinson dies guarding their backs. Once they reach a safe stop, Goodwin notes he's lost the detonator on the way, so Bukes walks out under heavy fire to collect it and finds Mills already there, scooping it up as the robots get closer. Bukes tells her to run so she isn't hit by the EMP-2, but she refuses. The S.A.R. makes one of the smaller units fire Mills, but Bukes catches her as she falls down, allowing her the time to trigger the EMP grenade. For a moment, it appears all robots have shut down, and Mills is ready to as well. But the S.A.R. suddenly wakes up and starts after them, so Bukes has to take Mills away. They enter a building, and as Bukes begins firing at the robot on the stairs, Mills climbs inside the room Robinson's corpse is at. Bikes is put inside by the robot shortly after, and he asks it to end him, but the S.A.R. can't since it has orders and still needs more data to complete the program. It goes for Mills instead, whom it still can't identify, but as it's ready to kill her, she ignites Robinson's gun and shoots the S.A.R. down. The robot connects to her and downloads knowledge into her brain before eventually deactivating for good. The movie concludes with transport coming to fetch Bukes, Goodwin, and Mills up and bring them out of there. As the soldiers enter the jet, Mills' eyes open, revealing to us that S.A.R.'s mission procedure has taken control. Thanks for watching. Please like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe.